do the chicken coops only have 2 doors? Because if they had 4, it would be chicken sedans. Oh my gosh.
What do you call a laughing motorcycle? A Yamaha. A Yamaha.
Who is the greatest babysitter mentioned in the Bible? David. He rocked Goliath to sleep. At what time of day was Adam created? A little before Eve. Get out of here. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef.
All right, what do you call a fish with 2 knees? A 2-knee fish. I know, it took me a little long. Late.
A cop just knocked on my door and told me that my dogs were chasing people on bikes. My dogs don't even own bikes.
Did you know the first French fries weren't actually cooked in France? They were cooked in Greece.
Oh.
Who wrote that one?
I tried to eat a clock the other day. It was really time consuming. Wah, wah.
Who was the smallest person in the Bible? Nehemiah.
Need an ark? I know a guy.
How does Moses start his morning? Anybody? He brews a pot of coffee. Jeez, nice.
Can February march? No, but April may.
Who was the greatest comedian in the Bible? Samson. He brought the house down. Yeah.
Those are awful. Awfully good. Just like what I grew up with.
This is slightly intimidating.
Dad, what about me makes you proud?
Oh, man.
Dad, what about me makes you proud?
Dad, what about me makes you proud?
Oh, man. Dad, what about me makes you proud?
And I have to answer that one?
Yes.
Just about everything that you do. You're loving. You're funny. I could go on and on.
What makes me proud about you is you just being yourself.
I had trouble with alcohol. It was actually an intervention. Even with all the other people there, you were the real reason that I made the decision to go into the treatment center that I did. And thank you.
Thank you. You're helpful. Yeah, you forgot the funny part.
Your attention to hygiene.
Dad, I'm grateful to you for choosing to stay when I was little. Why am I crying?
At the time when I'm graduating and I'm packing up and leaving, then it's really gonna hit me. And
I think about a time when if you're not around, like that would be awful. But like you're the person that would always laugh.
Dad, I'm grateful because we didn't know how long you were gonna be with us, so we're so happy that you're still here. Dad, I'm proud of you for knowing that the most important thing was to just give your kids so much time.
I've always been impressed by you. You made it easy.
Thanks.
I miss having the chance to just check in with you. I miss your sketchbooks.
I love you. I love you too.
We don't say it enough.
Hey.
I love you, Dad.
It doesn't compute until they're gone. So tell them now.
Sort of weird standing so close to you.
Hey, what is up, high school? Welcome back to Floor 1, and we are in week 2 of our brand new series. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm having issues with the people in my life, I get a little dark, and I think, you know what, maybe it would be better if I just wasn't around these situations. And that's actually far from the truth. But that's what happens when we're in situations where we don't know what to do. When we get frustrated, we get angry, we just feel like quitting. Today we're going to talk about the fact that you can't quit when you face tough situations, because in those moments where you feel the most desperate, those are the moments that God shows up the best. Before we jump into the message for week number 2, we are going to prepare our hearts and our minds for the Word, and we're going to worship together.
Before he spoke creation, the God of heaven knew our names. Formed in his reflection, we are his glory on display. And his heart is good. He is always kind. With a cross he proved he is on my side. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. And though we stumble, he will not let us fall. We are the Lord's, and he will never forsake his own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. His love he lavished on us and called us children of the King. And in his loving kindness, he chose the lowly and the weak. And his heart is good. He is always kind. With a cross he proved he is on our side. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. Stumble, he will not let us fall. We are the Lord's, and he will never forsake his own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. Daughters of God. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
All right, how many of you, let's be honest here, how many of you use way too many emojis in your text message? All right, how many? Or at least it's a lot easier to call out people than call it yourself. How many of you know people that use way too many emojis? Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? That text that has like 6 cry face emojis. I mean, 6 cry face emojis? Do we really need that many emojis? Like, I have personally upgraded to a more sophisticated way. I like to use GIFs because sometimes a 2-second clip of Beyonce says it all. Am I right? Now, here's the thing, like emojis and GIFs, they have come in clutch for me over the last couple years. Like, for example, the laughing tear face, you know, the laughing tear face, what better way to communicate funny than a laughing tear face? Or the green ugly face, like I don't think of a more powerful way to say something is gross. Or how about the sad with tears? It's basically been the only way I've been communicating to people over these last 3 months because everything's just been gone. I haven't got to see anybody. That's been my main way to communicate. And here's the thing that's beautiful about these images that we get to use. They help us talk about how we feel without actually using words. And so there are a few emojis because of that I don't use a lot, because when I use them, they say a lot. They look like this. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the shocked face with the eyebrows. You got to get the one with the eyebrows because that's an extra shock factor. That the shock face with the eyebrows, it means this. I have no words for this. I have no words for what's happening right now in my life. It represents the moments that we can't make sense of. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Those moments in our life that we can't make sense of. You ever experienced anything like that? Something that absolutely rocks your world and you don't know what to say. Like when your parents sit you down and they say, hey, we're getting a divorce. Or when your friend group that you thought was going to be with you through it all turns on you and leaves you in the dust. Or when you find out that you're moving. Just when you were starting to make friends and make connections. Or when everybody makes the team, but you don't. Or you get dumped over a text message. There's these moments that we face and we don't know how to react to them. And what makes these moments so shocking is that they hit us out of nowhere. Like we don't see them coming. And so because of that, man, it's really difficult to know how to respond, because even though we're all wired differently and even though we all experience hurt differently, so the way I deal with my stuff is going to be different than the way that you deal with your stuff. Here's the truth. Hurt hurts, right? Hurt things hurt. And when life hurts, we're all asking the same question. What do I do next? And so this is why we're doing this series that's called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do, because we all encounter these moments. Moments like our guy Joseph. You remember last week we kicked off this series talking about Joseph, and we talked about the fact that, man, Joseph had some drama. I mean, serious, unhealthy, family drama. And it was drama that unfortunately Joseph had a part in playing. Like, here's what we know. Joseph was the favorite. Not his fault that his dad picked him over everybody else. But because of that, Joseph got special treatment, specifically a coat. Now, Joseph's big problem was the fact that Joseph didn't pick up on social cues. So Joseph, knowing his brothers probably can't stand him, wears this coat, flaunts it around, has this dream that he's going to rule over his family one day, and then has the nerve to tell his brothers about the dream. Now, I don't know how your family would react to something like that, but Joseph's family has a really, really bad reaction. We find it in Genesis 37, verse 18. It says, "But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him." It's like, what? That went from 0 to 100 super fast. I mean, normally, like, there's a fight, or maybe we just take your robe and do something to it. No, they just go straight kill mode. They're like, let's just kill him. And so then in verse 19, it says, "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns, and then say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." What? Like, this family is crazy. Unbelievable. Like that's the part that I think maybe is the worst, that they're like, then we'll see what comes of his dreams. Like, why would you have to, like, in your mind, you've already killed him. Now it's like, oh, I don't get it. Thankfully, one of these brothers was in his right mind and had a different suggestion. And it says in verse 21, when Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. "Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. Can you imagine the text message that Joseph would have sent out if he'd have had a phone? Of course, obviously, if he had a phone, he would have just called his dad and said, "Hey, my brothers are crazy. Come save me." But could you imagine the text message? Like, I just imagine there's this picture and it's the top of the well. All you could see is like the sun shining and there's the hole. And the caption would be this: "When your fam tears up your jacket and throws you in a well, sad face." Like, that would be the text message that he sends. And unfortunately, they weren't done, because as Reuben was off preparing this plan to ultimately save Joseph, there comes this caravan of traders. And the brother said, "You know what? Instead of killing him, let's just sell him. Let's get something from him." So they pull Joseph out of the well and they sell him as an actual slave. They sell his soul essentially away, which is maybe worse than killing him. And so Reuben comes back and finds out that they had sold him. There's no way that he can try to save him. And then in verse 32, here's what they say when they meet up with Jacob. They said, "They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, 'We found this. Examine to see whether it is your son's robe.'" And I think this last line tells us everything about what's happening with this family. Your son's robe. That robe was symbolic. In a weird way, it just became this moment that reflected all of the tension in the family. I don't know if you guys have anything like that in your families. Like, there's a memory or a moment or a thing that is this reflection of your family and the hurt and the pain. And that's what this robe was. And isn't it interesting the way that they describe it to the dad? Like, they noticed the robe, man, and they were crazy mad about the favoritism and what it represented and who Joseph represented. And when they bring it to Jacob, they don't say, "This is Joe's robe." They don't say, "This is our brother's robe." They say, "This is your son's robe." It's like a line in the sand. They were saying, "Hey, is this the way you want to play? Then this is the way we're going to play." And obviously Jacob is just devastated because he believes the lie that Joseph was killed viciously by a lion. Like, can you even imagine Joseph? I mean, at this point, Joseph's, going off with the traders. He's a slave now. You imagine the next text message: "Hey guys, good news, out of the well. Bad news, they sold me." Two sad faces. Like, it's just, It's crazy. And, we're cracking jokes and we're making fun of the situation, but this situation, it really wasn't funny. Like, I can't even begin to imagine the emotions that are going through Joseph's heart right now. Betrayed by his brothers, slaved by a group of traitors. And the message is loud and clear. Like, you don't need a text message or emojis to know what's going on. They felt that they were better off without Joseph. And maybe that's a tension that some of y'all feel because of the things that are happening in your family, with your parents, with your guardian, with your siblings. That maybe because of the tension and attitude, you think that maybe everybody would be better off without you. Like this moment here for Joseph and the moment that maybe you're in right now is clearly a what to do when you don't know what to do moment. And although your story is going to be different from his and your story is going to be different from mine and different from the people that you share life with, every single one of us experience moments when life doesn't make sense. And we don't have words to describe how we're feeling or even to try to figure out how to get out of what we're going through. So what do we do when we don't know what to do? Well, here's the thing. What is ultimately going to become true of Joseph's life? And spoiler alert, things will get better. They're actually going to get worse before they get better, if that's even possible. But things will get better. And what's happening to Joseph is going to save an entire generation of people and set up, ultimately, Jesus coming into this world. But there's something that's true for Joseph that's true for you. And it's 5 words that make all the difference. And we find them in chapter 39, verse 2. And it says this: the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. The Lord was with Joseph. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. When there is nothing you can do, God is with you. And I promise you that. God is with you. And I'm not talking about the weird, abstract way. Like, I think when you hear the term God is with you, it's easy just to immediately shut that off in your mind because you've heard it so much. You become numb to it. But I'm not talking about the abstract way that God's with you. I'm talking about literally present with you. God is with you. And when you and I can fully embrace this truth, it absolutely changes everything for us. Because here's the deal. Knowing God might not change your circumstances, but I promise you it will change you. Knowing God might not change your circumstances, but I promise you it is going to change you. And ultimately, that's what's going to happen with Joseph. But this is the story that ultimately happens with everybody. In your life, you are going to go through things. You're going to go through drama. You're going to go through issues. Some of it's going to be because of your family. Some of it's going to be because of you. Some of it's going to be because of things that are completely outside of your control. Having a relationship with God is not about changing your circumstances. Having a relationship with God is about changing who you are. Because see, when you start to change, the things around you start to change. And so what can this begin to look like for you? For those of you right now who are listening, thinking maybe the best thing for me right now is not to be around anymore. Maybe I just don't need to be around my family. Maybe I don't need to be around my friends. Maybe if I was out of the picture, that would be the best thing. I'll tell you, that's the opposite of the best thing. That doesn't solve any problems because you affect your family. You affect the world that you live in. And every single one of us has the potential to change things for good. But it's got to start in here. And so here's the first step. I think you need to be real. You need to feel your feelings. Like you need to press into those struggles that you're having with yourself to the reason why you think you don't want to be around anymore. Listen, when you don't know what to do, God is with you, right? Like we know that is true. Paul tells us in Romans chapter 8 that if God is for us, who can be against us? He also tells us that God works for the good of those who love him. He works all things for good. Listen, I'm here to tell you, God is for you. And so if God is with you, no matter what, you can be honest with God about how you're feeling. If you're frustrated at your parents, you can be honest with God about that. If you're frustrated with your living situation, you can be honest with God about that. If you're frustrated about your friends or the people that you're dating, your social status, the way you look, just the insecurities you have, you can be honest about all those things. You can even ask God, like, why am I living in this situation? God, why am I here? God, why is this happening? You can be honest about all those things. God is not scared of your honest questions. As a matter of fact, when you are real with yourself and you actually lay all those frustrations on the table, it creates space and room for God to speak truth into your life. And then once you've been real, I think the second step is to remind yourself that God is with you. I mean, sometimes you got to preach to yourself. You got to take all these things that you have learned through being at church, through going to camp, through your personal time with God, and you got to preach to yourself. That's why I would keep telling you to read Scripture. It's not to give you extra things to read. It's because there will come moments in your life where nobody's going to be there to preach to you except for yourself. And you got to remind yourself that God is with you. Because if God is with you, here's what that means. Your story is not over yet. I promise you it's not over yet. Regardless of what the people you share life with say, regardless of the people that you don't even like say, regardless of the world that you have no control over says, and even regardless of what you say to yourself. If God is with you and for you, your story is not over yet. Like, here's the thing. Our life will be full of so many moments when we don't know what to do. It's actually normal. Life is messy and it's a struggle. There will be way more things in your life that you're going to face that you don't know about than there will be things that you do know about. But here's what we know. There is something that we can press into. There is a someone that we can know that trumps all those things. Listen, you heard me say this before, but if Jesus is in the room, we're going to be okay. I say all that to say this. When you don't know what to do, God is with you. And I promise you, those moments in your life where you feel the most frustrated and the most alone and the most confused and the most overwhelmed, and in that moment you choose to press into God instead of run from God, that's the moment that God shows up big. And that's the moment where your faith grows bigger than what you can ever imagine. Let me pray for you. God, I thank you for this moment that we get to share together. God, thank you for the people that are watching today, that they'd be encouraged in the middle of their frustrating situation, in the middle of this overwhelming season, that they would know that, God, that you are with them, that you are for them, and you work all things for good. And God, when we don't know what to do, we can trust that you are there, that you are with us. So help us, God, especially in those moments where we don't feel valuable, especially in those moments where we think maybe the best thing is for me not to be around, to realize that you have a plan and a purpose and you are working this out in our lives. God, we thank you and we love you. We say these things in your name, Jesus. Amen. Well, hey, I just want to thank you so much for hanging out with us again on Floor 1. We are counting down the days so we can be back on this floor doing ministry together. For all of you that are in high school, we are doing groups on Sunday nights, and we want you to be a part of that. And then for you guys that are middle school students that are watching, listen, we are working on getting a plan to be back together and sharing life together in a safe way, and we're getting there. It's coming. It is coming, and we are excited about what is going to be happening in the fall. We're already working on a big 2021. Hard to believe that, but 2020 is halfway over. We're just excited for God to do some big things. We love you guys. We are praying for you, and we can't wait to see you back here next week. Have a great day.
This is my faith. This is my focus. All of my days, I know where my hope is. I live it loud. I'll shout the chorus because I know, oh, you're always for us. And even when it's hard for me to see, I will trust in you, I will believe. And even when it's hard for me to see, I will trust in you, I will believe, and keep on looking, looking, looking to you for where I'm going, knowing you go there too. I'll keep on looking, looking,